Hey guys, it's John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well. I posted a little blind test video this week in which we guessed the amplifier that we heard in the video. And welcome to the reveal video where I tell you which amplifier I used, which settings, and what you guys guessed. Now this definitely was a bit of a learning experience for me, and I'll get into that in a minute. I'm recording this video the morning after the initial release of the blind test video, so obviously I can only count the guesses that are in the comments section as of right now. I also posted the videos in some other social media platforms, but note that I cannot count those guesses or votes as well, because there's no way of knowing if those guesses were double posted in the actual comment section as well. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, here we go. Time to check out what you guys have guessed. A lot of people who watched the video as of right now did not make a guess. So that's over 1,000 people who did not make a guess. And why did these people not guess? There's no way of knowing. I do realize that this was a very hard test, as it's very difficult to guess the amplifier without any further reference. Although I probably tainted that a little bit with some words that I used in the initial video, but I'll get into that in a second. About 25 of you guessed that I used an orange amplifier. And I used the word about because some of you guessed multiple amps in your guess. But orange amplifiers definitely got the most guesses here. I can kind of understand why, because orange amplifiers tend to have a kind of similar tone to the amp that I used here. A full, rich, fat and saturated tube tone. So I think that these, although incorrect, were some pretty good guesses, because I can hear the similarities between the amplifier that I used and that signature orange tone. About 19 of you guessed that I used a solid state amplifier. And note that a very big portion of those guesses thought that I was using one of the new mini amplifiers by Boutique Amps Distribution, like the new Bogner Ecstasy, for example, that just came out on the same day as I released my initial blind test video. I can tell you right now that that's not the case, although those new mini heads look absolutely awesome, and I would love to try one on the channel, especially the upcoming Diesel one. They seem to sound really great for such small solid-state amplifiers, so yeah, I hope to have one on the channel one day. One important thing that I've learned from this experience is that I should not have said that it might be a solid-state amplifier. Is it solid-state sounding? Because that already puts some sort of suggestion in your head, basically. So next time, I'll be more careful about saying things about the amplifier that I feature. Now, to be honest, to me, it does not sound like a solid-state tone at all. It sounds like a tube amp to me, which it is. And it's actually a tube amp with many tubes in it. Anyway, so the timing of the release of the initial video seemed to have a great impact on the results, which was interesting and unexpected, of course. So I'm making a mental note here not to release my next blind video on the day that a brand new amplifier product is released on a lot of other YouTube channels. But yeah, of course, there's no way of knowing that up front, so it's just a matter of luck, I guess. Now, between 4 or 7 or 8 of you guessed that it was a Mesa Boogie amplifier, mainly a rectifier amp. About 4 of you guessed that I used a Marshall amplifier. The brands Laney, PV, and EVH also got around 3 guesses each. Friedman and Bogner also got 2 guesses each, not counting the new mini heads. And some other brands were mentioned as well once or twice. So as I said, very interesting, revealing, and definitely a learning experience. So it's time for the reveal. Now let me say up front, just as I said in the initial blind test video, that I really enjoyed these tones myself. I made the tone so that it sounded absolutely awesome to me, so no compromises were made there at all. But yeah, it's a very unique tone, that's for sure. It's very organic and tubey sounding, very fat and round with a rich saturation without sacrificing that mid-range cut that you need for a full mix. So the amp that I used was my Wang's HD15 tube amp. Yep, a 15 watt 6v6 tube amplifier that was built in the Wang's custom shop in China with a lot of love and care. And this is the low wattage version of their high gain amplifier model, which is basically based on a blend between sort of a Bogner Shiva and a Soldano. Now this amp does not only do high gain tones, it also has a very nice sparkly clean and some nice punchy and bitey crunch tones on the other channel. Do check out my in-depth demo and review of this amplifier for more tone demos and more information. I'll put a link up here and down here as well. Now let's take another listen to the riffs now that we know which amplifier was used, and also take a look at the amp settings. Alright, so once again that sounded great to my ears. Now I did not only feature this amplifier because of how good and unique it sounds. I knew that the uniqueness of this sound would kind of throw people off a little bit. But I also wanted to feature this amp because despite it being great and high quality, some people seem to have a prejudice towards the fact that it's made in China. Now, of course, not all of us, because a lot of us use amplifiers that are built overseas, but a small portion of players seem to have an opinion on gear made in China before even hearing the product, which in my opinion is a shame, especially for these amplifiers because they are built with a lot of love and care. Anyway, so there you go. Now the amplifier was fed into my trusty Fractal Audio LB2 reactive load box, which is an amazing sounding reactive load. And that was fed into an awesome sounding York Audio IR from the York 212 M65 Cream Pack. And that pack features a very special custom built York Audio 2x12 cabinet loaded with Celestion G12 M65 Creambacks. And I must say that I was really impressed by the sound of that cabinet with those speakers. And because of this pack, I'm starting to see what people like about the Creambacks. They have a very nice mid-range push that sounds different from your typical V30. Just a very full sound that I really enjoy, especially with this amplifier. And I used the Mix 01 file, which is basically a blend between a 57 and a 121 mic. I double tracked the guitars and there was no post-processing aside from a simple low cut at around 80 Hz, just to make some room for the kick drum and the bass guitar. So that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are and what your guesses were in the initial blind test. Please drop a like and a subscribe as that really helps the channel out. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you soon. Cheers!